did you have the song title in place? It's like, listen, the song's be called Space Cow Initiation, but you'll stay with us.
Yeah, I'm just really excited. I think Pantheon's a great effort for us as like our first go around, but we've already written a new one. And we're ready to get back in the studio in just a couple months and get that done. Dance is very known for a fairly toxic discourse around vocalist. That's like no one who knows us is any stranger to that. People fighting over who's the best and who's the worst, and you know, I knew that going in when they asked me to fill that role. If I had thin skin, I wouldn't be in this industry at all.
Dance Gavin Dance have been creating their super high energy music for 2 decades now, and though the lineup of band members has changed over the years, their sonic intensity and complexity has remained a cornerstone of their sound throughout. In fact, their sound is so unique that a new genre label needed to be invented to describe it in Swancore, so called after founding member Will Swan. Now, in 2025, they're about to release a new album called Pantheon, and I am so honored to have some time now to talk to 2 of the members about that album and where the band is today. In guitarist turned lead clean vocalist Andrew Wells and drummer and founding member Matt Mingus. So welcome, lads. Thank you for your time. Good to see you both. Now,
yeah,
perhaps
thanks
Matt,
for having
you might
us.
be well placed. No worries. You might be well placed to answer this first question of mine, which is that something that really impresses me about this band in particular is that clearly it is consistently pushing its own boundaries of creativity and style genre varieties. And yet, even with significant changes over the years, there is still a core sound that echoes throughout it that is unmistakably Dance Gavin Dance. I wonder how much of that is some kind of core musical value that was there at the start that now is sort of maintained throughout all of the eras of the band. How do you think that through line has been consistent?
Yeah, you know, I mean, just like you said, and we say it all the time in interviews, I think that's one thing that helps us stay really consistent is having, you know, Will Swan be at the helm of, you know, a lot of the writing and creative processes that go behind the instrumental writing. And then me as well, you know, they're all along to help out with, you know, my drum parts and the, you know, solid foundation of the songs. I think it just contributes to the sound staying, you know, somewhat consistent, and we're not afraid to push the envelope and, you know, go think outside the box and experiment with different things. But at the end of the day, Will Swan's guitar writing is just so unique that it definitely, you know, contributes to the sound that people have grown to love by Dance Gavin Dance. And then, you know, we love collaborating with other musicians, which also...
Well, I think we've just lost Matt. He's currently driving a car. No worries. We'll catch up with you perhaps in a little bit there, Matt. Thanks. So, Andrew, this new album has been touted as the most stylistically diverse of Dance Gavin Dance thus far. And I'm kind of wondering whether there's a chicken or an egg situation where is it so stylistically diverse because of the change from you're going from guitar to vocals and that's injected something new into it? Or do you think this has been maybe the trajectory the band was on anyway to make the album that is now Pantheon?
It's a really great question. To me, it's actually a combination of multiple factors. I think the chicken and the egg is a good way to put it, where it's like an age-old question. It's really difficult to pinpoint exactly, you know, what the, you know, barometer for that intention was. But it was definitely an intentional change in our process, because I switched to lead vocals as like my primary skill set in the band. I still write and record guitar for the band. There's many guitar parts of mine that are on Pantheon, some bass parts of mine that ended up on Pantheon. So as a songwriter, I'm still contributing in pretty much the same, or if not more of a capacity than I have been for the last 10 years, just with a more accentuation on the vocals. So I think that plays a role for sure, is like writing with intention based on the vocalist in mind and how we can cover some ground. But I think one of the biggest things we've mentioned in some previous interviews too is the band really, there were a few years where it felt like it got very formulaic, not just in the songwriting process, but in the in the live performances, just everything just kind of felt like a job. And the members that are with us currently, so me, Matt, John, and Will, we wanted to really get back to our roots as a band and like experiment with longer songs and weirder song structures and time signatures and keys, and not pigeonhole ourselves like we felt like we'd kind of gotten a little stagnant in that, and it just didn't feel inspiring as much to us. So we wanted to really get back to our roots, which is some progressive post-hardcore stuff that I personally grew up listening to. I bought Downtown Battle Mountain 1 when I was in high school, like just getting out of high school, just because the artwork was cool. And then I popped it in and it blew my mind. And then here we are, decade plus later, and we're just doing it. So it was an intentional process to kind of change the sound up and experiment with new things. I think if you go back through the catalog too with Dance, every time there is a new singer change, when it first happened with Kurt, or, Johnny coming back and trying to revisit some of that, or Tillian coming in the first time, those first albums back tend to be a little bit more experimental and trying new things and seeing what fits with the new vocalist and the new era. And then the follow-up album tends to be a refinement of that, or a solidification of that. So I'm just really excited. I think Pantheon's a great effort for us, as like our first go around, but we've already written a new one. And we're ready to get back in the studio in just a couple months and get that done. So
that's exciting. I would assume as well, perhaps, would your side projects, because you both have side projects, has that also helped to reinvigorate what you're going to bring to the table for Dance Gavin Dance when you kind of come back to that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have like go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just going to say, for me, like, it's hard. Our side project, Secret Band's kind of, like, I don't know, kind of on the back burner as far as prioritizing it goes, as much as we enjoy writing music for that. But we always kind of prioritize DGD. So we've written like a whole new album for that, but then stuff for Dance comes up, so we can't even really focus on the side project. But I think Andrew can probably weigh in on that about Idola.
Yeah, I think for like Idola or Royal Coda or even Secret Band, those projects for all of us, it's a consensus that those are our side projects officially. They're, kind of back burner. DGD takes the precedent. But for us, especially Will and I, they provide another outlet for us to kind of experiment with other things, that there's not as high of a expectation on some of those projects, because they're not as prolific as Dance in terms of success or expectation to do these big tours and big albums. And so they give us a little bit of leeway to try new things. And I think for us, we do use those projects as an outlet to explore new territory, to challenge ourselves in new things and bring stuff back to Dance. I think it's a really, I love being able to do that in other projects too. And to see them be successful is great to me too. Cause to me, like, rising tides raise all ships, and you have this scene or this community of artists that collaborate with these other immensely talented artists. And I think, the more we see those projects branch out and do even more with their own side projects, it continues to build this community of people that are passionate musicians that want to play the instrument, that want to pick up a guitar and start a band and go and make something. And I think that's just a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And I'm very sure that there have been many fans discovering the likes of Dance Gavin Dance who surprisingly might not have heard of them for the 20 years they've been going, but because of Idola might have brought them in, for example, when you stepped in those vocal shoes there. I'm wondering specifically, though, going from the role of guitarist to lead clean vocalist, I would assume is quite a different set of responsibilities. How has that felt internally for yourself as your position within the band? Does that feel like a kind of promoted responsibility role, or does it feel like it's a different hat in terms of the performance, but the puzzle piece that is me in the band is the same?
It's a very nuanced question. It's very complicated. And I love that. I'll do my best to keep it as short-winded as possible, but it is complex. There's, I've been doing backup vocals and contributing vocals for the band for a number of years, feature vocals, you could say. And so I've been integrated, especially with Jackpot Juicer. There was a lot of back and forth and a lot of, melodic counterpoint. And so I'd already kind of been introduced in that and had played a part in some of that role. taking the mantle is internally, it's very stressful. It was very stressful then. It's stressful now. There is definitely a heightened responsibility. Dance is very known for a fairly toxic discourse around vocalists. That's like no one who knows us is any stranger to that. People fighting over who's the best and who's the worst, and I knew that going in when they asked me to fill that role. If I had thin skin, I wouldn't be in this industry at all. I just don't think that would work for me. So I knew that responsibility going in, but realistically for me, I viewed it as an opportunity to refine my skill set, push my boundaries, push myself as a vocalist and as an artist, and really step up and provide that role for these guys I've been with for a decade, making music and building a career that feeds our families. We're so fortunate to be able to do that. I don't take it for granted at all. So for me, I view it as a challenge. I view every step of it as like, how can I improve my artistry and my vocal ability to be the best that I can possibly be? Even post Pantheon, I just got a new vocal coach here in Utah who's been tremendously helpful in helping me overcome some of my shortcomings and some of my skill gaps I'm naturally a baritone. You can probably tell in my speaking voice, naturally more of a baritone, bari tenor. So to have a desire to give those fans what they want, that Tillian was with us a long time. So I want to give the best performances I can for those who are fans of the high tenor, high alto vocal, and push myself. And that's a skill gap I didn't work on growing up. I was like, oh, I'm a baritone. I'll just be a baritone. Working with this new coach, really getting me into the stratosphere on those highs to be able to put forth my best effort it's so fun and challenging. And I'm just looking forward to the future to continue to push myself for the band and for the fans.
Yeah, no doubt. I hadn't really considered that. If your natural voice is baritone, there's an obvious challenge in there in terms of range to try and execute. But then,
range wise, inarguably, if you actually documented my range, I can sing down to, B2, A2, all the way down in that like Russian bass. I was a fourth bass in high school. That was like my starting register. And I can hit all the way up to like an A5. I've done that on record repeatedly. So range wise, I can do it. It's just, does it sound the best in that timbre, in that register? What can I do to refine that and really lift it, thin the vocal folds and get up there and make it sound consistent and pleasing every night? It's a challenge for sure. My natural voice is definitely in that crooning baritone territory, but it's been fun. It's been really cool to see what I'm capable of and really push that to the next level. So
that's that's exciting. Thanks for clarifying. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Something else that was really exciting about this upcoming album is there's a feature from the legendary George Clinton. Now, Matt, I know that you're a fan of funk. Were you the one leading the charge on getting that feature going? And when did that come about? Because you could have Andrew doing that vocal part in a nice low register, but George would bring something a little special, right?
Yeah, no, I can't take credit for that idea. That was Will's idea. As much as I do love George Clinton and Parliament and everything he's been a part of, it was Will's idea. Will grew up with his dad being a massive George Clinton fan. So when that song was written, it was kind of just like thrown out as a joke. I suggested a different artist, and then Will suggested that, and we kind of thought it was a long shot, to be totally honest, and didn't really think that it would happen, and it did. Our management reached out to his manager. One of his managers is actually a fan of our band and was able to kind of, just connect the dots and make it all work. And just a super cool opportunity, and definitely in standard, Dance Gavin Dance fashion of getting someone really outside of the box, really outside of our genre of the post-hardcore screamo realm. It's just a super, super unique and cool opportunity.
Yeah, and I was kind of imagining in my head. At that point, did you have the song title in place? It's listen, the song's be called Space Cow Initiation, but you'll stay with us.
Yeah. So whenever we write songs instrumentally, we give them working titles that are crazy, and a lot of the times they change, based on the lyrics and whatnot. but sometimes they do stay the same. There's a couple on this record, and Space Cow being one of them, that title came first. And then it's the first time in DGD history where I actually have a vocal part on that song too. That's going off during the George Clinton verses. And my vocal parts are actually about cows going into space.
Perfect. Thematically important. I love that. Yeah, I've been looking at I haven't heard the whole album as yet, just the one that the song's been released, but there's a song called Yikes, which I can't wait to hear. What is Yikes going to be representing? That's pretty fun.
Oh man, Yikes is a fun one. It's actually like surprisingly heavy. The chorus is all screaming vocals. It's reminiscent of like some Death Star era John mess, like just going off the rails. It's actually really cool. It's very chaotic, very very culturally relevant too, I think. So
cool. I can't wait. And this is not really necessarily a musical detail, but the way that All the Way Down opens to me is unmistakably that's Mario Kart, right? Like the binging of the lights and then the rev. What's inspired that?
This one, yeah. Matt's got this one.
Yeah. We wanted to recreate it. So we actually on the Falling in Reverse tour that we did at the end of last year, we made an intro for one of the songs. I think it was for Evaporate, and we put that in there at the beginning of that, just for the live show, and then when we were trying to think of ways to kind of, I don't know, make the album flow, and that song starts so abruptly, we were like, well, it'd be cool if it had some sort of like little intro on it. And so that idea got thrown out, but we didn't want to get in trouble by Nintendo or for copyright stuff. So Chris Crummett, the producer and engineer of the album, actually like organically made those sounds with like layering different organs, and he even filmed himself doing it just in case someone came after us. So it's like all shown like, no, we did not rip this off. And there's other racing games. That's just the sound. Even in real life, that's the sound at the racetrack. So I think we're in the clear though. That song's been out for a while.
Yeah, so. For sure. Which is why I kind of asked with a bit of hesitance. I'm like, it is not the sample. It's like it's close to it. It is definitely reminiscent of it. That has to be a reference.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, and to be clear, we are all massive Mario Kart fans.
We do play some karting on tour for sure.
Yeah, I just got it on the Nintendo Switch too, and it is amazing. So go and pick one up. Nintendo's not paying me to say this, but
you pull out your new DS, dude. We get an endorsement. Let's go.
Then they'll clear the original sample and you can use that.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Now it seems to me that it's such a safe environment of creativity in the band that like so many potentially out there ideas can happen, such as that one. Are there any cases where you go, no, I don't. I think creatively that one is just hard to justify. Let's not have that song go into that musical direction, whatever it is. Or is it more of a, sure, how can we make it work first, and then we'll take it back if it doesn't?
It's definitely more of like, let's see if we can make this crazy weird ass idea work.
We're on tenterhooks here.
It didn't always used to be that way, by the way. But yes, the current iteration for sure, very collaborative. We really respect each other's vision on things. We want to see things through to the fullest extent that we can. But there are some times when certain ideas just don't work. And you have to kind of put a stop to it before it gets way out of hand. Generally, that's when it comes to like a song structure or something. If something's a little too over the top progressive, like you're going mixed meter and you're doing a 7/4 into a 9/8, and it's just like, okay, this is cool to us and maybe some of our musician fans, but the general public is not going to know what the fuck is happening here. So how do we rein that back in, make it a little more tangible of a song structure, make it make sense, basically. But yeah, it's current era, very collaborative, man. It's the most collaborative the band's ever been, from vocal writing to instrumental writing. We got back to basics. We got in a room together and we wrote songs. That's the first time that the band's done that in a long, long, long time. And then vocally too, It was me, John, and Will in the back of the bus on the Falling in Reverse tour, demoing vocals, writing them all together, collaborating on melodies and cadences, and it was really cool. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I'm definitely resonating with what you're saying. And it's a fascinating band to me as well, because I remember hearing the second song on the Speed Demon. I forget the name of it now, where there was moments where the guitars are. It almost sounded like two guitars. I think I made this comment when I listened to it the first time. It sounded like they're in different keys. Like I'm like, I don't know if this works, but if you kind of you get like helicopter view of the overall sound, it adds a bit of chaos, but it works. It's kind of an interesting balancing.
Yeah, straight from the heart. Yeah. The dueling guitars. Yeah, Will and I both had competing ideas in that, and it just made it work. It kind of added to the chaos of like, whoa, it's like almost disorienting, like intentionally disorienting. It adds to that like real cacophonous sound. And so it's cool to experiment with that and not get shut down immediately, and be like, yeah, this works, but let's just do the bread and butter. This was a good opportunity for us to do that, to go back and kind of revisit some of those ideas, and try new things and see what works and what doesn't.
I often think this when I hear music by very technically advanced musicians and complex song structures. I'm so curious, like what if they went into a room and decided to write like the most straightforward templated pop rock song? It could be fucking incredible, but then there must be a reason why you're drawn to this kind of style. Like Matt's back. Hi, Matt.
He's in the house. Yeah, baby.
my phone overheated and just dropped. I'm just having these technical difficulties. I really want to apologize. Sorry.
No
Steve.
problem. Absolutely fine. In fact, you might be well placed to answer this question as well. So, given the complexity technically in terms of the musicianship and the songwriting and structuring and all the variety that you have, I'm so curious to know what would happen if you all united to write a very straightforward templated pop rock song for radio, for example. I think it could be absolutely killer, but then there must be something that draws you to the complexity as the first class citizen of the music that you want to write. What is it about this kind of music that is your main focus and love?
Yeah, it's funny because we have in the past kind of tried to do that and like write this, verse, chorus, bridge, outro, type songs to purposely be like, oh, we need to break into the radio rock realm. And it just didn't work for us, and it didn't feel authentic. And it always we had a hard time even keeping it in that direction. Like our minds just don't really work like that when it comes to writing. Like, don't get me wrong, I listen to all sorts of music, and pop, is in there. It's not like I don't listen to they're well written songs, But for us, yeah, it's just a challenge. Like, I think our minds just like go so many other places, and we're like, oh wait, let's try that instead, And it, like I said, the main thing too is it just didn't feel authentic. And for Pantheon specifically, we like wanted to just like be our creative selves, do what we want to do, and not purposely try and write this molded song that we're trying to get us to the next level to make money. Like we just want to write. We wanted to write an album for us that we liked and we were proud of. And I think that's kind of the main reason at the end of the day. Like, we don't want to completely sell ourselves to the devil and start writing this, because it's just at the end of the day it's not about the money or anything. It's about the creativity and just being happy as artists. So
I think the craziest part of that statement too is that we've gotten more press and more playlisting on Pantheon than we've ever gotten as a band prior, which is crazy because we just set out to make music that we wanted, but to see All the Way Down and Trapdoor and some of these singles on like the hard rock playlist or the all new punk playlist, and see our listeners go from 1 million to 1.6, 1.7 million monthlies on Spotify, and see the growth is crazy. Because again, we're just like, we're writing authentically, and then to do that without the intention of writing like a pop hit and still see it get some of the octane love or the playlisting is really cool. That's like, it's kind of a testament for me that we're going in the right direction. So
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I think, especially with what you were saying there, Matt, as well. If that's not what comes naturally, then I suspect there'd be a part of an audience that would actually maybe pick up on it and be like, "There's something like it's nice, it's good something. There's something not quite resonating," and maybe that's why what we're doing right now is getting the traction it is, because if you pour yourself into it, there's some intangible that comes across in music, despite the technicality of it. That's part of the magic, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not to say that, like, some of our songs, all the way down, for example, like it's got kind of less parts and does kind of go verse chorusy and have stuff that repeats. But when we wrote that song, we felt that that naturally is just how, the song flowed, and we didn't go out of our way to try and create that type of thing. Even for fun, just last night, randomly, it's funny that you bring this up. I was messing around with one of our new songs, and just trying to play with it and like see, move some parts around and instrumentally. And I found myself, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like trying to create this like pop format song for like no reason. So I actually stopped. No, the way the song's written initially, I think is the way that it should flow. And if it doesn't work, then we just move on and write something else and don't use it,
I could imagine Andrew being like, "Which song? Which song is this?"
Yeah, which song you cranking on, dude? I got 16 I'm going through right now.
The working title is called Morning Shower.
Oh, I heard that one this morning. It's really cool. It's like a ballady type one. I like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I can clip this out if it's spoilers.
No, it's all right. Yeah, let it ride.
We like the tease is good. The tease is good.
Sure. Yeah, but even in that case, the way you've described that is you're experimenting. It sounded like less than going like, I need to fit this into some mold. And it might, that kind of thing could result in a version of that is more authentic or whatever it is. It could have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Very cool. Now, you dropped off before you were answering some question about whether there's any moments you think creatively you might go, actually, that's maybe too far. We can't realize that. Or you come up from a standpoint of let's try and make it work first. And then if it's going a bit too far, we rein it in somehow.
Yeah, I know. I was so bummed I dropped out because I love that question. So yeah, what I was saying is like, yeah, there'll be like some really outlandish ideas where like we're jamming on something literally as a joke. Like it sounds just so stupid and like funny. And then we'll be like, wait, what if we actually turn that into a song? And so for the example I was going to say is that our song Calamiente Global on Afterburner, I always butcher the title of that song. But that riff that Will plays, the bum, 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 it was like a total joke. Like we were just like, we're all sober now, but at that time we were like super stoned, just like jamming on this really stupid song. And next thing you know, we were like, what if we made that an actual song? And it became a song. And it's happened before, like you said, and then it's just like not flowing. We're like, what the hell are we doing? This isn't going to work. Even just a new song that we just wrote too is like a silly jam that both our guitar player Will and Martin wrote in the dressing room as a joke once again. And then now here we are actually turning it into a serious song. So I think it just goes along with, what I was saying earlier with the creativity stuff and just like writing songs for ourselves and just like not having a limit on what style a song needs to be, or like trying to fit a specific mold. And I think those honestly end up making the best and most meaningful songs for me. So
yeah, that makes sense. And it might even be part of what ties Dance Gavin Dance from 20 years ago to now, because when you start writing music with your friends in your bedroom, you are just writing things to entertain each other. It's not because like you don't go, right, we need to write a hit. That's rarely how you start in a band when you're like, say, teenagers or something. Oh, that's fun. Now, given the modern era of rock, actually people are far more open to switch ups between genres within the same song, not even just within an album, than I think they ever have been. What's your view on that? And have you seen that impact the way that Dance Gavin Dance is received now by maybe a larger audience perhaps than before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a massive part of the Dance Gavin Dance sound from the beginning, is kind of pioneering what post-hardcore is supposed to be, which is taking from every genre possible. I mean, I think Dance Gavin Dance is, in my opinion, the epitome of that, like really spanning 11 albums, soon to be 12 full lengths that pull from everything from R&B to rap to hip hop to trap to even, you know, some country influence, some pop influence, some, you know, metalcore, you know, harmonic minor, like death metal that our other guitar player listens to. Like, we get inspired by everything. And so we pull so many influences where we can genre bend with the best of them, not only throughout our albums, but in the same song. And I think that a huge cultural push for that has been facilitated by the internet and by bands having existed for so long that they've kind of, you know, a lot of bands, if you stick within one sound, you eventually you kind of try everything, you kind of do everything in that wheelhouse. So it behooves you to start to experiment by incorporating all these other types of genres. And I think with the attention spans the way they are and people, you know, getting on to finding new music, it's like that's now what excites them, is a band that can do that well and effectively and pull from multiple genres in the same song, even, rather than sticking to a formulaic approach. And so I do think that that's been a core component of DGD's sound, but continues to be an inspiring component of our sound moving forward, stuff that we want to experiment with even more.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because for the first several years of Dance Gavin Dance, our managers, our booking agents, you know, had such a hard time with getting us on tours or trying to push us to, when satellite radio first started doing, you know, like the more underground rock stations, because people would be like, we don't know what kind of music this is. Like, we don't know who to market it to. And then finally, over the years, when we just kept staying consistent with that, it was like, oh no, I guess that is just their sound. And then here we are 20 years later, where, like you said, where people want that. So I think it's definitely a good time for rock music, because I think it's cool for other bands, you know, to keep it interesting and experiment with different sounds. And it's definitely, you know, nice for us that we stayed consistent and didn't try and, you know, just go a certain specific direction with the music, you know, we just stayed true to it.
Yeah. And I think it's probably, even in, you know, before the more modern time, people were more open to it in some ways, it probably was a bit of a superpower where you could kind of turn up to any festival and there'd be some portion of the fans would like at least some part of what you do on there. You can kind of get to go to all the parties in a way because well, don't worry, we got this song. You might enjoy a bit of that.
Yeah. I think we're super lucky. Like, you know, I don't think that there's a whole lot of bands that, yeah, like you said, in the same year we'll get to do like a When We Were Young festival and then the Danny Wimmer like Aftershock Music Festival. And I know there's a couple of us, you know, but to be able to bounce around and do it all, you know, I hope one day maybe we get to do like Coachella or, you know, Lollapalooza and those, you know, more outside of the box music festivals. But I agree. We're really, really fortunate in that way that our sound kind of, there's something that can appeal to everyone.
Yeah. I remember like a very specific instance of that kind of blew my mind was we did, it was the Warped Tour. It was like after Warped Tour had kind of ended and there was a 25th kind of anniversary pop up in California that we flew to do. We did a Wimmer festival the day before. That was, I think it was like Rob Zombie was headlining and Public Enemy was on the bill. It was like all these like crazy bands. And we went on at like 3 or 4 p.m. and still crushed it. Like there were people that were like, okay, all right, I see you. And so for Dance to be able to do that and then fly out the next day and do like the Warped Tour circuit, I think is definitely a testament to the spread of what we're capable of musically.
That's great. And it sounds ideal as well, because if what you enjoy is creative variety, then you're being rewarded by performance variety and being able to experience a whole bunch of different worlds that otherwise you wouldn't, perhaps, if you were limited in some way. Looking at this album that's going to be coming out in just a couple of days here at the time of our conversation, is there a particular mindset or an approach you're hoping people bring themselves to this as a first listening experience, or do you want them to just go in cold and let the music speak for itself, or is there a certain kind of, I guess, approach you hope people give this particular album?
I have an opinion on this. Do you want to go first, Matt?
No, go ahead. I was processing the question.
No, these are all phenomenal questions. I if you are like a newer listener to the band, or you're a very open-minded listener to bands of our genre, I would say go in with an open mind and just let the music speak for itself. For sure, I think the music as it stands is phenomenal. It's a great effort from everybody. It's all of our favorite at the moment, and we're trying to top it right now with writing a new one. So I think going in and just letting the music speak for itself is the approach. If you've been a diehard fan of dance from any of the previous eras, I would say, maybe go in with an even more open mind. Go in with the mindset that Dance Gavin Dance is a constantly evolving, changing organism, and that's kind of the beauty of the whole thing. And I think you'll have a much more pleasurable experience rather than trying to compare it to prior releases, or, well, what about this and how did this make me feel? This album didn't make me feel the way that this other one made me feel when I was 17 and going through a breakup. It's like, yeah, it's not going to, you fucking idiot. It's a completely different piece of art. Like, you go listen to it with an open mind and be stoked that bands are still out here like putting their heart into everything they do, and trying to push themselves to the next level. And I think you'll have a really good experience. I think it'll be really positive. So that's my 2 cents.
You know what? I don't even have anything to add, and it's not because I'm being lazy, but I think Andrew answered that like perfectly. I back that 100%.
Yeah, it's entirely sensible. And actually, Dance Gavin Dance has changed here and there over the years, but if you go to any band's new album and go like, how can I directly compare this to their previous work? You're going to be disappointed no matter what. Even if the band tries something similar, you change with your experiences, you change with your songwriting. It's never going to be the same thing. If you compare like to like, then like that's a fool's errand. And I think when it comes to Dance Gavin Dance, even more so. Like if you're expecting the same as before, then you haven't been along for the ride. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. And it's like, even when I hear bands and I'm like, dude, they just they just wrote the same album again. Like, I want to hear different shit. I want to hear you try different things. I want to hear your level of musicianship progress. Like I want to. I just, like you said, I don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. That gets old, and it's like, cool, you did it. Don't need to repeat it again. Let's try some different stuff. So hopefully, we can achieve that with respect to, still keeping things sounding the same, similar, in the realm of Dance Gavin Dance,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited to hear the whole thing as soon as it comes out. I'm curious as well to see what the audience makes of it as and when in the few days coming up. But thank you very much for your time, gents. It's been great to get some insights into your songwriting process in this album in particular. So good luck with the release of this and any tours and things coming up. But I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And sorry for the couple of little dropouts I had, but happy to be here with you.
All good.
Thanks, man.
Andrew Wells and Matt Mingus there from Dance Gavin Dance. Really enjoyed that conversation, even with Matt dropping out a couple of times because he was driving his car. Just added to the jauntiness somehow, in some way. Make sure you check the links in the description of this podcast episode. Then you can find some social media links to Dance Gavin Dance. Keep up to date with what they're doing in future. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. There'll be more interviews with great artists such as them in future. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you in another one of these very soon.